Howdy everyone. I've been working on getting the different tubes and lines and wires and sensors and things like that on this engine connected and installed. It's a long process because there are a lot of things to do, a lot of things to think about, and a lot of things to hook up. So going back a little bit, I believe I've already talked about the oil cooler install. This is now permanently in place. I had the little fiberglass ductwork piece that goes here, temporary, just laid to help me get this kind of in alignment. You can see I've got my oil lines connected. I've got a line here, and I've got another line here. These are temporary. They're the actual lines that I'm going to use, but I have to take these back off because I'm going to pressure test them. I'm going to hydrostatically pressure test them. So these are going to be coming back off. These are not tight. The nuts are not tight. There aren't any seals inside of here. But the fittings are permanently attached to the cooler. These are the actual lines. Of course, they're cut to the proper length, and they've got the fittings installed. So you can see I've got a 90-degree fitting here, and then this line here goes down and plugs into a fitting here. So like I said, those are done. I'm just going to remove them and pressure test them before I install them permanently. I've been fooling around with fuel lines. The fuel lines have been a little bit more of a challenge just because there are more of them, and I'm not really sure yet what to do with my red cube flow sensor. But I'd have so far just the simple line that runs out of the firewall directly into the mechanical fuel pump. That line is in. That again is not permanent. The nuts are not tight. I do not have the seals on the AN cones inside. Again, this line will be coming out, and I'm going to pressure test it. And then I've got this fuel line here, which is permanently installed. This one is actually in place. Now that I think about it, I wonder if I should remove it and pressure test it. But anyway, this is just a simple line from the fuel flow divider. And it comes down around here, and then it plugs directly into the fuel servo. Right there. And of course I make my own lines and do my own fire sleeving and things like that. I enjoy it. I love acquiring new skills, and to me it's fun. So I do everything that I can myself. You can see obviously that I've got the intake tubes are now installed. I had cleaned those really well and polished them. I had taken the boots, the rubber boots, and cleaned these up really well inside and out, and then went ahead and did the install. So all four of those are now on. And what else? I don't know if I talked about my fuel injector lines. The individual fuel injector nozzles are in place. Those were cleaned really well. They are a two-piece part. You have the main body, which is visible here, and then inside is a little nozzle sleeve type of assembly that slides inside of each nozzle. Those are a matched pair, so I can't take the sleeve out of this one and put it in this one. They have to stay together. They're a matched pair. So both of those were cleaned really well. And then I rerouted the lines, polished the lines a little bit, rerouted them, used some new clamps, some new hardware, and got those all installed. So all four of the nozzles and all four lines are now in place and connected with the proper sealant on the threads for the injectors. What else? I don't recall if I talked about, this is the solution for a couple of sensors. There are a lot of ways to mount sensors. This is a Van's idea. This, however, is not a Van's part. I actually made this. It's almost an exact duplicate. But rather than spend the money to buy one, I just went ahead and fooled around with making my own. Obviously, this is now installed, and I just mounted my two pressure sensors. One is for fuel, and the other is for oil pressure. Those are now ready to go, and I think that's about it for updates. Again, nothing really worth showing real time. Everything is pretty much just nuts and bolts. There's nothing fancy. There's no real modifications or anything like that. So I haven't been videotaping anything real time. And like I said before, once I get out here and I get rolling on stuff, it's kind of hard for me to stop just to get the camera out and set up the tripod and do some filming. Maybe I should. I don't know. I don't know what you guys prefer. But that's kind of where I stand now. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I'm never sure what I'm going to do next. I just kind of wait and see how things play out. At this point, I could potentially start running wires from the sensors to the engine information system wiring harness. You can see I've got a wire here coming off the alternator. I could potentially run that. I don't want to do anything with the mags yet because I have this magneto removed here. This is removed, and my oil filter adapter that goes here has also been removed, so I can get to this oil line here. And like I said, I need to pressurize. I'm going to pressure test the hoses, so once that's done, I can put these on permanently. Then I can put my oil filter housing back on permanently. Then I can put this mag back on permanently, and then I can wire them. I can do my P leads and things like that. Don't want to do that yet. I'm still working on the rest of the fuel line that comes off of the mechanical fuel pump. Somewhere in here I got to put my red cube, and then it will plug in here. And then I've got the lines that actually go to these sensors up here. I got to do those, but I don't have the hoses. I don't have the fittings. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I don't believe I want to do 1/4 inch. I want to do something smaller, but I'm not there yet. So like I said, not really sure what I'm going to tackle next. I've got some interior work I can do. I can mount the stick boots and things like that. I'm making a modification to the on the back of the seats. On the seat backs, you have that flap, that hinged flap on the back. I'm making new ones of those. The stock ones I think are about 4 inches wide. I'm making new ones that are only about 2.5 inches wide. But I can't do anything with those. Well, I could. I could move on something like that, but I really wanted to focus on engine stuff. So now I'm babbling, so I'm going to stop here and see what comes next. All right, talk to you guys later. Howdy, everyone. So now I am working on some more wiring, some instrumentation wiring, if you will. I've got some wires for different sender units, and then I've got some TC wires for the EGT and CHT temperature things. So I decided to go ahead and start working on this kind of stuff while I'm waiting on hoses and fittings to finalize the oil and fuel lines. So what I've done so far, you can see I've got wires laying over here to the left side of the engine, and then I've got some wires here that are going to run down for the right side of the engine. And of course all of this spaghetti needs to be dealt with which is what I'm working on currently. Upstream of that, I've got my penetration through the firewall here. Of course, that's going to get some kind of grommet. It's not going to be left as it is, of course. Made use of this nut and bolt here. There's an Adel clamp underneath that's holding the fuel vent, I believe it is. So I just made use of that existing screw for this. I've got a fat tie wrap here. That's just protecting the wire bundle from the edge of this aluminum that passes underneath. So it rides on the plastic tie wrap instead of on the wire itself. And then it comes through, I got a grommet here through the sub panel. And then I've got it connected to the top of my glove box, again with a clip. This disconnects. The glove box light disconnects. If I ever want to take the instrument panel off, I can just unclip the wires and pull the panel out. And then I've got my two connections here on the, this is my remote engine information system. This connector here is all the CHT, EGT thermocouples. This connector here is everything else. These are the wires that I'm using for my instrumentation. These wires are not being used. These are things like, I think it's carburetor temperature. One of these is like carburetor temperature. There's a couple of auxiliary inputs that I don't need. Things of that nature. I'm trying to look at, I labeled all these. I'm trying to look at what I labeled them. Yeah, there's a couple of coolant wires, carburetor temperature wires, auxiliary wires, things of that nature. So these are not going to be used, but I'm going to keep them just in case, especially the aux wires. So I'm just going to wind these up and mount them somewhere. I don't know if I'll mount them to the back of the instrument panel. Maybe I'll mount them to the glove box just through this clip. I don't know. But again, thermocouple wires here. Everything else here. Unused wires here. And those come through, like I just showed, through here, out the firewall, and then I'm going to disperse them as needed. So far so good. Talk to you guys later.